Well, hello, hello. Welcome to Miles of Training, the podcast tailored specifically for the hardworking men and women navigating the vast highways of our nation. I'm your host, Penni Royston, owner of Evilsizor Associates, and today we're diving deep into the world of interstate trucking, bringing you insights, tips, and stories to make those miles on the road a bit more enjoyable. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just a rookie hitting the road for the first time, Miles of Training by Evilsizor is here to be your companion on this journey. We understand the challenges you face, from changing regulations to long stretches of open road, and we've got the inspiration you need to keep those wheels turning. So each episode, we'll cover topics like safety protocols, maintenance tips, and even share some heartwarming stories from the road. Consider this your pit stop for all things trucking related. So buckle up and get ready for a ride like no other. Miles of Training is not just a podcast. It's a community where truckers come together to learn, share, and connect. Whether you're hauling freight across the state lines or just starting your journey behind the wheel, we've got you covered. Miles of Training by Evilsizor, because every mile is an opportunity for growth. Let's hit the road together, shall we? So I thought it would be fun just to go over a little bit of the history of interstate transportation. So the Interstate Commerce Commission, also known as the ICC, was the first transportation surface and subsurface regulatory agency in the United States. This was created by the Interstate Commerce Act of 1887. Can you believe that? 1887. That's incredible. The agency's original purpose was to regulate railroads, and then later to ensure fair rates, to eliminate rate discrimination, and to regulate other aspects of common carriers, including interstate bus lines, travel bureaus, and telephone companies. Congress expanded the ICC to regulate other modes of commerce beginning in 1906. So think about that, 1906. What did the world look like? What did the U.S. look like back then? There were no interstates, which included freight and passenger brokering and pipelines. The agency was abolished December 31st, 1995. Crazy, right? It lasted that long, and its remaining functions were transferred to the Surface Transportation Board. The commission was the first independent regulatory body, as well as the first agency to regulate big business in the U.S. So eventually, the ICC told the states what transportation the states would regulate. Also, these regulations were primarily written before air transportation. And furtherance of interstate transportation does not include air transportation. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. I would have thought it would. But again, interstate trucking is surface and subsurface. So surface, what you're driving down the highway, and then subsurface is pipeline. So anything above that is not included. So the United States DOT, or Department of Transportation, was established by an act of Congress signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson. And this happened on October 15th, 1966. Its first secretary, Alan Boyd, took office on January 16th, 1967. The department's first official day of operation was April 1st, 1967. I think that's interesting that it was April Fool's Day. The United States' primary function is safety, always safety. That's first and foremost. Just prior to the ICC elimination, the U.S. DOT officials stated that they would not enforce any economic regulations after December 31st, 1995. Dad always thought that was an interesting part of the ICC, is they were not interested in the economics at that time, just safety. That's all they focused on. So January 1st, 1996, the remaining ICC regulations were primarily economic, and they were mingled with the US DOT, which are all located in the 49 CFR sections 300 to 399. So when you go to the truck stop and you grab that little booklet, that's the code of federal regulations that will be printed in that little book. So some intrastate transportation regulations are found also within the interstate. Sometimes they intermingle, sometimes they don't. So you got to check with your state. But most individuals today applying for a US DOT number do not really know the difference between inter and intrastate. And I'm going to have a podcast on that one probably next. We're going to create this foundation so you understand completely the difference between interstate and intrastate, and some things may surprise you. So that's just a little brief history of transportation. I hope you learned something, and you know where it is now, but, think about how far it's come. So I will talk to you in the next podcast.